When you think about French music, who comes to mind? Is it Edith Piaf, Stromae, Céline Dion? What if I told you that one of the most famous French singers ever is someone you quite possibly never heard of? This singer is credited for bringing the style of rock and roll to France, and he released a total of 79 albums during his career. In fact, he's one of the best-selling artists in the world. But his popularity didn't make it far beyond the French-speaking world. I am talking about Johnny Hallyday. Today you will learn more about this influential rock star while also expanding your vocabulary as we explore some of his most famous lyrics. Johnny Hallyday is a big deal in France. He sold around 100 million records and 30 million tickets to his concerts. He's been a famous icon since the 60s.
Le petit clou de ton cœur.
And throughout the decades, up until his death in 2017, and even beyond.
La nuit ouvre ses fenêtres sur la planète des saints.
Sa célébrité, his fame didn't export much outside of French-speaking countries, but every French person knows about him and have listened to ses chansons, his songs. Oh, and by the way, I am going to mention some French words throughout the lesson, of course, like célèbre and chanson and more. And I will dig deeper into them at the end of the lesson with the vocabulary review. You will get to see how you can use them in everyday French. For now, let me tell you a bit more about this iconic singer's life for context. Johnny's real name was Jean-Philippe Smet. Jean-Philippe Smet. He was born in 1943 in Paris from a French mother and a Belgian father. His father left and Jean-Philippe found a new father figure in his cousin-in-law, an American dancer with the stage name of Lee Hallyday. He taught Jean-Philippe about this new American music, rock and roll, and it came to define his whole life. As soon as he could, Jean-Philippe started his career as a rock singer under a similar stage name of Johnny Hallyday.
Eh bien, Johnny Hallyday, venez. Il a 16 ans, je crois. 17, vous voyez, ça change tout.
He got really popular among young French people thanks to his cover of American songs from that time, and he became a big name of les yéyés, these young pop singers from the baby boom who used American aesthetics in their songs, such as singing Yeah, yeah.
Vous les copains, je ne vous oublierai jamais. Et
Oh yeah.
Johnny even came to be called l'idole des jeunes, the idol of the youth.
Les gens m'appellent l'idole des jeunes.
Many singers from that time faded into obscurity, but Johnny remained. He tried new things, but always in his own style. He hired the best songwriters, and most of all, he grew his loyal fan base. He always returned to American blues and rock, though.
Hey Joe! Viens dire bonjour!
Hey Joe! Le chômage, les grèves!
He was very famous for putting on the best shows, the most impressive ones throughout the year up until the end. But Johnny Hallyday, or Johnny as French people often simply call him, wasn't only a popular singer. He was a cultural icon. Why? Well, some things didn't hurt. His private life was fantastic for the tabloids and he got a lot of press out of it. He married 5 different women successively, including the singer Sylvie Vartan and the actress Nathalie Baye. 2 of his children became famous as well, the actress Laura Schmidt and the singer David Hallyday. Johnny also got involved into a lot of wildly different projects such as movies,
Rock and roll is dead.
ads,
Optique 2000.
Waouh, il est terrible. Optique 2000.
or even cross-country rallying.
Tu te rends compte si on n'avait pas perdu 1h15, on serait là depuis 1h15.
And all this kept him in the public eye. But that's just part of it. Because he also had a particular face, a voice and mannerisms, and he also made funny blunders.
Quelle joie d'être avec vous ici ce soir à Clermont-Ferrand. Saint-Étienne, pardon.
All that made him a good target for jokes and imitations, all in good fun and with a lot of affection. In the 90s, Sa Marionnette, his puppet, often featured in the influential and satirical TV show Les Guignols de Lanfo, Les Guignols de Lanfo. But that didn't mean that he was always fashionable. Lots of hip people didn't really like him. Partly because he was in the center-right politically, partly because he was a big touch dodger, but mainly I think because he was way too popular to non-fashionable people. In a way, during the 80s and 90s, his fans were seen as a bit what we called beauf by the upper class. That's one of the words that I will talk a bit more in details in the second part of the video, but for now, think of it as a bit like redneck in the US, because Johnny was especially popular in what we now call la France périphérique, which are small towns and rural countryside, or what we would call fly over France if French people traveled by plane. Actually, that's also where you will find a fondness for Americana and le rêve américain, the American dream. And it's that fan base that bought his CDs, went to his shows, and really made Johnny the icon that he is. And in the 2000s, the wind turned once again. Johnny became trendy, even half ironically. It probably started with the movie Jean-Philippe, with popular French comedian Fabrice Lucchini, in which Johnny plays a touching version of himself as an old man that never became famous. The whole movie is basically a love letter to the singer, and it worked.
Quelque chose de Tennessee, cette force qui nous pousse vers l'infini. Y a peu d'amour.
Sadly, 10 years later, in 2017, Johnny Hallyday revealed that he had cancer. He kept singing, touring and recording until the very end before passing away on December 5th. And this was big news in France. Everyone talked about it. All French people mourned him. And more than 1 million people came to his funeral in Paris. His career didn't even stop. His label is still releasing his last recordings in posthumous albums. So today, what remains of Johnny Hallyday? Well, most of all, his songs. Many of them were French covers of English and American songs, but he gave them a very powerful interpretation.
Ce soir, as-tu perdu? Oui, demain, tu peux me gagner. Disons le chêne changera le jour, c'était ma peine pour ça de l'amour. Et bonne chance à celui qui...
He also hired French songwriters to write him original songs like
Quoi ma gueule? Qu'est-ce qu'elle a ma gueule?
Some of these songwriters were pretty famous on their own too.
Quelque chose en nous de Tennessee. On me donne l'envie d'avoir envie. Je te promets le sel au baiser de ma bouche. à ma main qui te touche.
The last song is a good recap of Johnny Halliday's scene persona. You have images like le tonnerre, thunder, le tonnerre, l'orage, l'orage, the storm, la foule en délire, la foule en délire, the crowd going wild, le lion dans l'arène, le lion dans l'arène, the lion in the arena, and all this wide, powerful, hyper-masculine imagery. In this lesson, I covered other French words, so let's review them in today's vocabulary recap in more depth. By the way, you will find the whole vocabulary list on the written lesson on my blog for free. We started with une célébrité. Une célébrité is a celebrity. It is someone who is célèbre, célèbre, famous. We also have the verb célébrer, célébrer, and une célébration. Une célébration, but this is more often used for a religious context like worship. If you want to say to celebrate in everyday French, you will need to use a synonymous such as fêter, fêter, to celebrate, to party, or commémorer. Commémorer is more to commemorate, to celebrate an event in the past. Though, to be fair, it's becoming more and more common to flatten these differences and to just use célébrer as an anglicism for to celebrate. But for now, you can just repeat after me, une célébrité, une célébrité, une célébrité. Good. Next, we've seen une chanson. Une chanson is a word that you might know already. It means a song, but it also gives you un chanteur, and une chanteuse for a singer in the masculine and feminine form. And the verb chanter, chanter to sing. Though faire chanter, be careful, faire chanter means to blackmail. And un maître chanteur is not a master singer, but a blackmailer. What's interesting in une chanson is that you have two nasal sounds. You have the on at the beginning, chant, chant, and the on at the end, chanson. So repeat after me, une chanson with the two nasal sounds. Une chanson. Une chanson. Good. I also mentioned les guignols de Lanfo, les guignols de Lanfo, which is a satirical show from the 90s and 2000s. I could make a complete lesson on this show, but I will simply say that l'info or l'information means the news, while guignol is a common insult for incompétent, like un clown or un rigolo, a fool or a joke. It comes from Guignol that you might know because he's a famous character from French puppet plays for children. So the show's title refers to both the people in the news and the puppet that they're using. In Guignol, there's also an interesting ñ sound. GN makes ñ. So repeat after me, un guignol. Un guignol. Un guignol. Good. And next we have beauf, where we say the F at the end. Technically, it is short for le beau-frère, the brother-in-law. But it is also a full stereotype coined in Charlie Hebdo in the 1960s and well illustrated by the comic series Les Bidochons. It is a shorthand for a lower to middle class type of French people who are seen as unfashionable without any elegance, as well as racist, sexist, and homophobic. Of course, that stereotype itself is problematic, and I could have a long conversation about it, how it's been used in French culture and how it has changed since the 1960s. But for now, I am only telling you what it means in case you hear people using it. Just like our next word, la gueule. La gueule. It is in a famous song by Johnny in Ma gueule. He's asking,
Quoi ma gueule? Qu'est-ce qu'elle a ma gueule?
it means, what about my face? Or what did you say about my face? La gueule is a slang word for face or just mouth. And it is even a mild swear word. For instance, ta gueule is a common aggressive way to say shut up in French. So using that slang word makes the line quoi ma gueule sound even more defiant, more dangerous. On the other side, in l'envie, the title doesn't mean envy or jealousy. In French, it simply means desire or want. And avoir envie is to desire, to want.
Qu'on me donne l'envie d'avoir envie.
For instance, repeat after me. J'ai envie, I want. J'ai envie. J'ai envie. J'ai envie. Good. Finally, in another song written by Jean-Jacques Goldman, the singer goes through many lines starting by the title Je te promets. Je te promets means I promise you. It has a silent T and a silent S. Repeat after me. Je te promets. Je te promets. Je te promets. Good. Promises are usually made for long-term commitments and love poems, but in this song, if you really listen, you will notice that they're only talking about a one-night fling. And there's also a line in there saying,
Je te promets le feu à la place des armes et jamais des adieux, rien que des au revoir.
It means never adieu, only goodbyes. That's because in French, un adieu or simply adieu means goodbye forever, and it is really heavy. While au revoir simply means goodbye until next time. Don't use adieu with your French friends that you meet here. It would sound ominous and rude. However, this only applies to some regions of France because outside of France, adieu is used differently. But for now, repeat after me, adieu with the French E sound at the end, adieu, adieu, adieu. Good. And au revoir, or in everyday spoken French, au revoir with the E sound in the middle this time, au revoir, au revoir, au revoir. Good. And before we say goodbye for today, check out this other lesson on French music I love and recommend. It is a fantastic way for you to improve your spoken French. Click on your screen to access the lesson and I will see you there. Allez, à tout de suite!